Hey guys, it's Harkenhamish with another episode of Minecraft. I mean wheat. We're just gonna plant some wheat. I like to show off a little bit to start. Y'all know that's not the full field. Not important. We did a lot of work on it actually, away from stream. So we filled in this whole chasm. It's still hollow, so if I think it's just like one panel deep for most of it. So if we just yeah, you'll see that it's all right there. Speaking of, why don't we just get rid of that stuff? We don't need it. We'll now I have a block of wool. I should have thought more about it. There we go. All sorted out. And well, I wish I had my shovel with me. I don't know where it is. I think I have an idea. It's too far away. We'll just deal with it some other time. After all, there's plenty of land that doesn't have those little bits of dirt on them. And I'm not just gonna go make a shovel to get rid of it. It's ridiculous. Not when there's wheat to plant. We're so close. I mean, not that close, but moderately close. We're a little bit close. Before long, we'll be at the water. At least at one part of it. It's still a lot of biome to cover. But the point is, the shaping of the natural world in the image that I find most pleasant, which apparently is wheat. You never know. You never know what you're gonna like until you like it. I didn't even know you could plant wheat in Minecraft. Now it's kind of my thing. I actually had only a very vague grasp of what was possible in Minecraft before I played it. Angelo, indeed, wheat. Oh, I found a recording online of Os Musicos. Dude, what a cool song! Oh, it was awesome. I really liked it. I thought the way that it featured the flutes was really interesting, because it really seemed especially in the earlier parts of the song, that that's a part where you would assume it to go to a trumpet, but it was really fun. And then later on, it was just a really awesome feature for the flute throughout the song. I really liked it. I've actually listened to it like 15 times since you mentioned it the other day. So wanted to thank you for giving me a good song to hear. I've just been jamming out to it. And you played the flute, exactly. I was like, yep, now I see why this was his favorite one to play. I lost my bed somewhere. We'll have to get another one. Hello, sheep. Don't worry. Hey, Chucky. I lost my bed. There we go. Can I make another one? That's right. I threw the other wool piece somewhere. There's got to be sheep here somewhere. Sheep won't spawn on wheat, but here at the barrier, here they are. All right. So, how do you play Minecraft? You just Yep. I'm doing well. How are you? I forgot my bed, but we went way away from the wheat field. But, you know, we're because you can't just plant in a different section of it. It's got to be like the wheat taking over. So you're just relaxing a bit, Angelo? Yep. Well, welcome. I too am just relaxing a little bit. I had a day of work, and I am pleased to be at home now. Chucky, you say you saw this while you were opening Minecraft? What kind of Minecraft do you play? Do you play like with other people, or? I just play wheat and hardcore, but I'm always interested to hear how other people pursue the game, since there's so many ways of doing it. Man, not for the first time, I really wish this game had been out whenever I was a kid. Man, I would have loved it. It would have been so great. I'm not often envious of young people today, but when I think that they got to like have this game as their childhood, like wow, what a treat. But then you would have to like also sometimes not spend your time playing it, and that would have been agonizing. The weekly fare for you tomorrow, Angelo? You're going to eat pasta with sugarcane juice? That sounds tasty. Sugarcane is awesome. I have not. What is it? It's like, if it's street food, I bet it's wonderful. Or, you know, like fair food, not street food. It means something else. But I figured if you put sugarcane on it, it would be sweet. What is it? It's like, in English, pastel, it's like, that's just like a sort of like a quality of kind of colors. Like, what I would think of as like spring, like Easter colors, like, you know, like a sort of pinks and yellows and blues and greens, but that are light. I don't know how to describe things. But it's probably a Romance word, pastel is, for the color, so it wouldn't surprise me if Portuguese had a cognate in there for it. Fried dough? Fried dough is the best. So I work at a restaurant, which, you know, like it's a steakhouse and stuff, but we do have deep fryers, and sometimes I fry fun things, like, you know, just whatever, you know, like Oreos. Frying Oreos, that's a fun thing that you can do. Sometimes I fry cheese. Sometimes I don't know if you mean fried cheese, but I do that sometimes at work. No, we have like an appetizer at work, but it's like a pre-made thing for these mozzarella things. But sometimes I'll get like a bunch of like cheese cubes and then I'll fry them up because, well, where I'm from in the American South, we're like really cheerful about frying things that maybe aren't supposed to be fried and then eating them anyway. It's sort of like our thing. We're very pleased to do it. And the sillier that a thing is, the more fun it is to have it fried. Like you can fry candy bars. Most people don't. Yeah, basically. What kind of cheese is normally you say sometimes they're filled with cheese? So like, I'm like, man, how do we even describe cheese? Is it like, is it just like a smooth cheese or is it like sharp? I'm like, can we compare it to a kind of cheese I've heard of before? But it sounds really interesting. I love the idea of just like putting some sugar on top of of fried dough with meat or chicken in the middle of it. Like that honestly sounds great. It sounds it sounds like a thing that you would get uh, what we call the county fair here. Because like I live in a rural state and I live in a relatively not like a super rural part of it, but like I live in Arkansas. It's the middle of nowhere as far as as the USA goes. But we have the county fair, which everywhere's got a county fair in America, but where people will show off like the chickens and their goats and their pigs that they have, and then there'll be rides and like a rodeo and stuff like that. But as part of that also, like all of these food vendors would be there. So I have many fond memories of eating like silly fried Oreos or fried ice cream or funnel cake it's called, which is like my favorite thing, which is just like pancake dough but fried, because why wouldn't you? Say usually they use mozzarella, but sometimes they have fancy other kinds. Mozzarella is a really good melting cheese. It's so good. I need to make a pizza sometime soon. I keep on slacking. I was having a really good time making food, and then I just like had a really good time playing video games. So like I haven't cooked in a long time. But it's like I'm such a snob. I don't want to eat what other people make. Like after I figured out like how to make really good French bread, like I just don't want to eat other people's French bread anymore. I do it though. I'll still buy it because I'm too lazy to make my own. It makes me sad. Not really. I have other priorities, like listening to music and playing video games, and that's why I don't make my own bread. I know how. Kind of afraid all my yeast is gonna die, but I think it should be fine. I'll make some bread before too long. I need to do it anyway, just to prove that I can, and then one day I can hold it up to the camera, blurrily up to my webcam and be like, "See, this is what all the wheat is for." Not really. If you think you can make bread out of wheat, you're skipping a couple of steps. Oh man, just so many steps. But in Minecraft, they simplify it greatly, which is nice. There's a video online. Oh, now I don't want to talk about it because I don't remember enough details. I'm like, so they're making like some kind of sandwich from scratch, maybe. And anyway, it involves this person just like straight up growing wheat and stuff for it, and then like he's like threshing the wheat like in his driveway, and and at the end he's like, "Look, it's not worth the effort. Just buy your flour." Angela, I remember that your family owned a bakery. Yeah, yeah. If only it was making it was this easy. No, for sure. I uh I like making bread, but I certainly, you know, look, anything you do for a living is probably gonna grind on you after long enough, right? That's what I believe anyway. Because I mean, I cook for a living, but whenever I cook at home, it's like a whole different thing, you know? I do what I want when I'm at home. The air is comfortable. I listen to music. No one else is around. It's great. Conditions are perfect. Jackie, you say that I should play with shaders? You know, I've heard that before. I I should do a lot of things. I know I should do that one. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I know there's a lot of really cool mods and graphical things, and I definitely should pursue them. I'm not like not interested in it, and I'm not like intimidated by modding specifically or anything like that. I've done quite a bit of it in various games over time and have found it enjoyable. It's just like, I don't know, I never just haven't started. I was going to one day, and that's actually what led me to realizing that I needed to play on Java because I had started out playing on Bedrock. No, my PC can take shaders. My PC is a monster. It's big and strong. It's got beefy arms. But yeah, I got like a yeah, I've got a 14th generation i9 and a 4080 Super and 64 gigs of RAM. It it's a beefy little guy. But yeah, I finally had like a year and a half where nothing went wrong in my life. You know, I didn't have any emergencies I had to deal with, so I got to spend my money on a sweet new computer instead of, you know, medical bills or whatever. It was nice. Yeah, I was actually gonna delay it until like around now in time because I just got this machine and oh, it would have been like May or June last year, right around when I started making videos again. Because that was, you know, a reason why I had gotten it because I wanted to start making videos again. But because my old one was like an i7 and it would have been like an 8th generation, and I ran like a 2070, and that was fine, you know, it did okay. But whenever I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, you know, I couldn't, you know, have it turned up as much as I wanted, and it was getting really hot whenever I was playing Total War Warhammer, and that's a game that like is very dear to my heart, and where it's very awesome if you can have it turned up higher. Like it's very incredibly cinematic, and to a Warhammer nerd like myself, it's just like it's very satisfying to be able to zoom in and see, you know, all the glorious carnage. Hey, Centaur. Hillsides are the worst. This one is this is actually next to the artificial. Yeah, see, all this is artificial, so this should have been, you know, on the side of a gorge, but you know, my desires for regular wheat. You're saying you're learning about Warhammer 40k recently? Yeah, Total War Warhammer is Warhammer Fantasy, but I know more about 40k. That was why I got into Warhammer, Total War Warhammer at all. But they don't have like an RTS in Total War for 40k. But there's been 3 for Warhammer Fantasy, which is like one of the things that I watch the most on YouTube. Is I watch competitive Total War Warhammer 3. I don't play it. I'm not very good, and also my hands can't really do it anymore. I can play single player like a bit, because you can get an add-on to where like you can let the AI sort of clumsily control your characters, but otherwise it's too much clicking for me. But I love those games. I think they're so cool. There was a Total War Troy game, and I liked that one a lot too. It had problems, but to a person who, you know, is sort of obsessed with those stories and poems and stuff, and has been for their whole life, getting to run around and like be Achilles on a battlefield, you know, that's always going to be a great selling point to me. What's Warhammer about? Oh my. Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy? They're like different universes. Yes, indeed, Roykupa. We have to try not to trample the wheat. Because like Warhammer Fantasy, like they use a lot of the same concepts, but it's not like in the same timeline exactly. So in Warhammer Fantasy, they like, you know, they ride on horses and dragons and stuff. In Warhammer 40k, they go to space and they have armor and tanks and spaceships and plasma beams and giant, you know, mechs and evil aliens and stuff. And Warhammer Fantasy is more like, you know, like Dark Lord of the Rings, but not in a copyright liable way for them, you know, where they have elves and dwarves and all of that. Roykupa, it's unlikely that I'll upgrade the Hoe to Netherite in here. Yeah, in general, Angelo, it's... Yeah, the tagline is for 40k is, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And it's basically... Yeah, it's the story of various civilizations that come into conflict with each other. And that's really what it's about in the broadest sense. And then you have specific stories. A facet of Warhammer is that you should expect bad things to happen to everybody. It's not a setting that leads itself to happy endings. And in fact, they're looked at as sort of like unlikely and a weakness. If you meet a bunch of characters, they're probably going to die at the end of the story, type of thing. But not always. Angelo, you say wars never have happy endings? Indeed, they do not. But this is more like, so a typical 40k story would be like a bunch of people on a planet, and then some crazy alien threat shows up that's just like way beyond what they can deal with, and then they all get killed. And that's like a normal 40k story. And I love that stuff. It's like, or, you know, someone comes to investigate corruption, but then they end up like just killing everybody in the whole city because they're like, all right, the bad stuff was here. We're not going to figure out who's innocent and guilty. We're just going to be excessive. Because Warhammer, at its core, is like a satire of those violent systems. So it tends to be like really over the top. And I guess that's like the best characterization of it is it's like it takes the structures of government as regards violence and takes them to their extremes. So you have, space elves, but they're totally deranged and they don't just not get along with other people, they like extra don't get along with people. You have, you know, religious zealots, but they are far beyond what we would even consider normal in a religious zealot. Like these are people that, where you might have people attacking neighboring tribes or villages in the real world. These are people who are literally blowing up planets, over whatever. Um, the Warhammer world has these gods that they're bad. There's like four of them, and they're bad. Um, there's the blood god Khorne. He's all about like violence and stuff. There's Slaanesh, the god of excess, Tzeentch, the god of change, and Nurgle. Uh, he is the god of pestilence and decay. And so those are their domains. Um, and basically, they exist not in real space, but in like a sort of like separate area that's sort of like, imagine it's called the warp, but just imagine like an energy weave going underneath existence, and that's where they're at, and they have demons that can come out and stuff. And a lot of the stories in Warhammer will be about people trying to do their own normal stuff, but they get the attention of the ruinous powers, and they find out, oh, actually, this thing that I was doing that I thought was totally innocent was being bad. Fourth mention, exactly, because they're real. They can sometimes affect real space. They can absolutely like kill people and eat their souls. Like they're not like imaginary or powerless or only in their own domains, but they don't like show up outside personally, and they basically can't. So they have to get basically corrupt the living to do their bidding, whether wittingly or unwittingly. And they can offer boons and prizes and inducements. And so each of the corruptions would take a different form based on exactly, and those would be called princes in the parlance of 40k. If you got leveled up enough, you would become like a demon prince, which would get you like infused with the power of the god, and then you would be able to go and do all the crazy stuff. But it's not like strictly speaking them doing it. It's like it's more complicated than that. But that's where most of the conflict comes in. And then like I said, they have like they have elves and then like dark elves, and they're really bad. The dark elves are they torture people and that kind of thing. That's like their whole bit. Um, they have these people called Necrons, which are sort of like space robots that were like based on Egyptians. So they used to be alive, and then they got like made into robots, and they went to sleep for like 40 million years. They have orcs who are like orcs, they're silly, but violent and incredibly dangerous. They have the Tyranids, which are sort of like world-eating bugs, and they have various things that they can turn into. Sort of think like Starship Troopers, but like not exactly. Uh, think like the Zerg in StarCraft. Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that it's not just one story in Warhammer. It's like all of these different things, and then because it's taking place all around the galaxy, so people can tell whatever story they want to tell in whatever place, and then everybody dies at the end because it's Warhammer. And but yeah, it's And all of that is to say that it only exists to sell models. All of those words are only there because they want to sell you very expensive miniature plastic models. Exactly. The universe is collapsing and everything kills you. I actually a month, 2 months, 3 months ago, maybe something like that. I played Space Marine 2. I streamed it. It would still be available on the channel. Um, uh, and that's like it's like a first and third person shooter sort of styled game from the point of view of a Space Marine who are like genetically engineered super soldiers of the Imperium of Man. But and I mean, and I cannot stress this enough that the models are very expensive. I do have models. Uh, they're very expensive. I got into Warhammer 40K right when I quit drinking alcohol, so I had a lot of extra money. Uh, but I would not have been able to get into it otherwise. But they're really cool, I think, and they're super detailed, and like you paint them and stuff. I don't, not very well. I'm really bad at painting, but some people are just like absolutely wonderful at it. Say, if I've never played Subnautica and want to get Thalassophobia, I should give it a try. Well, I have not played Subnautica. I have heard of it, and I do not currently have Thalassophobia, so that could be a fun thing. I never thought I would die in the water. I'm very good at swimming. Of course, that is a thing people do before they die in the water, but I've never been like afraid of drowning or of sea monsters or anything like that, which is pretty nice for me because I am really afraid of a lot of things. Uh, but not that there's I don't want to get too bleak. There's an old Russian saying that a man destined to hang can never drown. Um, Regina Spektor talks about it in one of her songs. You said you hired an artist for your RPG and did a great job. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. These animals are going to trample over the wheat. Strictly speaking, we were supposed to have finished this whole side, but I remembered that I'd put more water down for irrigation, and then it seemed just, like maybe we weren't quite done. Also, I remember I was like, why did I come over here? I was ending the video and then I got distracted talking about Warhammer. A very easy way to distract me. No, I should stream Total War Warhammer 3 even though I'm bad. And then I can just talk about it while I'm there. I love the multiplayer so much. I've never played a game actually. I've just watched like thousands of hours of it. Yeah, it's like whenever I was like in elementary school, well, fifth grade, so like middle school we call it here, but it's basically elementary school. There's this teacher, and if you brought up a politician that she didn't like, she would like complain about him for a while, so you could just totally like waylay the class if you wanted to like, read a book. I'm describing my motivations. I don't know why other people did it. So you try Warhammer Finish PC. Cool, cool. Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are going to get interested in it pretty soon, actually, or I hope. Um, they're making a TV show of it, and Henry Cavill is being involved. The guy who is in, like Witcher and who played Superman and stuff, because he actually plays 40K himself, and like he has models and stuff, and he's been into it for a really long time. So, like, in the Warhammer community, we're all pretty excited about that, because like the hope is that they'll let the people that are the fans involved with it, like their movie star actor, have a voice for it. But we'll see how it pans out. There's been plenty of disappointment with intellectual property tie-ins with media as time goes. Yeah, there's a humorous story. I believe it was when he was getting the Superman role offered to him, but it was a movie role that was like a major one, and he basically almost missed the call or did miss one or something. I forget the exact details, but because he was playing World of Warcraft, and so like you know that's what he was doing when he was supposed to be like thinking about his movie star career. He was just like chilling and playing WoW. And I love the idea of that like there are people out there, because he wouldn't have told his guild who he was. Of course he wouldn't have. So there are people out there that are just straight up playing WoW with Superman, and they'll never know it. There's actually a bunch of Warhammer 40K games. Some of them are fine, some of them are bad. I own many of them, and I haven't played some of them. I keep meaning to, but I keep meaning to do a lot of different things, and what do? I plant wheat. Sometimes I think it's all I know how to do. It's not true, I can do so many things. But yeah, earlier we were talking about people trampling on the field. That's these golems here, man. Like, they are a menace. They are awful. And you might think, why do you have that many golems? Oh, it's complicated. We used to have a whole lot of villagers there too. I'll tell you the truth, I don't know why there are that many golems there. Sure, I got like 100 villagers or something this one time, but it seems excessive anyway. You say I'm able to plant carrots too? Oh yeah, yeah. Well, at one point I was doing a raid. The story of the world is a little complicated because I did a conversion from Java or to Java from Bedrock, and so spawn's right over here where this ziggurat is, which is sort of the monument to the dead. So when I converted the world, every living thing died, and yeah, so every block that I had been to, all the places that you see here where we're running around, none of these can spawn cows or sheep or anything like that, because this was a place where I had been before. That sheep has wandered over from like over here Like all of this is also barren, and you'll just never see an animal there unless it wanders from somewhere else. Like that horse, obviously he couldn't have spawned there. But anyway, so that's like the story of the world there. But we had to repopulate it, and I had the render distance down, so like right over here. So see how this house is like in half? That half was a chunk that I hadn't been to, and this half was a chunk where I had been, and so that one got like wiped away whenever it converted it over. And I had to bring all of the villagers back to life, and I didn't understand how any of it worked. So we just, I had like a smaller wheat field, and then we just like built these little rooms all along the way, and had the kids go until we eventually could get them to the village, and then we repopulated it. But then I found out about raids and tried to do a raid, and they all got killed, and everybody died. So except for like a couple of them that were over here, like hidden, like they had fallen down in here somewhere, right? And there's probably a bunch of people down here right now. Maybe we got them out. Anyway, there's Golem. There's several Golems. But anyway, they were down there. And from them, we managed to rescue the village and repopulate it. And then, because I needed to eventually beat this raid, because I hadn't done a raid before, I already had the wheat. I just made a lot of beds, and then got lots and lots and lots and lots of villagers, and ultimately we end up with that many golems. Ah yes, but the beetroots. So we've got like carrots and beetroots and potatoes over here. This was before we had gotten like the wheat field going. Way back in the day, if you look at the very beginning of the wheat playlist, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Field of Reasonable Size. Which, by the way, is an excellent name. An excellent name for a video, and I will defend it forever. But that was when there was nothing on this side of the river there, and it was just like sort of this right here. Just this little middle section of wheat. And definitely none of that. Like, absolutely none of that. None of that at all. And none of that at all. And so that was the original thing. Was we just planted a bunch of wheat there, and then we had beetroots and stuff up here, and potatoes and carrots, and all of this wheat wasn't here, so we just had beetroot here, and then we had the little sheepfold, which we ultimately never got more sheep for, because I've got more sheep at other places in the world. But yeah, that was that. So it was like a sort of big wheat field, sort of at the time. Like it wasn't one, but that was what I thought of it. And then yeah, all of this beetroot and potatoes and carrots and stuff, that's all from back in the day. That's like August of last year. So like there's been, I think, essentially no new planting of that. But yeah, that's the wheat. And, some of the beetroot. And the story of how it became possible. Have you ever seen the Field of 2,000 Cows? We can go look at it. Hey, Ashes. Yes, thank you. I'm glad that you acknowledge the mustache as well. It's been sad without it. But yeah, so here's the Field of 2,000 Cows. If we change the thing so we can X-ray through. So this field I made way back in Minecraft time, when I did not realize that I would ever have 1,000 of them. I thought I'd have like 30. So there's like a moat, right? You see where we're X-raying down. So there would be a moat that's in there. The water gets disappeared there. There's a raised platform that was planted with wheat. There's still some wheat in here. We put little wheat bales. So if you see them standing up, they're standing on wheat bales that are there, and then there's still like random wheat that's there. And F3 tells us that there's only 1,700 cows here right now. Which makes sense, because I just hit a bunch of them with my sword not too long ago. Speaking of, probably time to do that again. I put my sword into this in case we needed to do it again. Because, well, you can feed the wheat to the cows for long enough, but at a certain point, which is probably around 1,200 cows, you should probably do your mending at the point of a sword. Now, the best way to do this is just stand in the middle and strike at them. You know, it takes courage and bravery to kill this many cows at a time. But, you know, ashes to ashes and all that. And if you're wondering, what do you do with all of the leather and the beef? Oh, you're gonna love this. Do you think I'm just gonna put it in a random chest? Good. Good, you're learning. You're learning so much about me. Now, of course, once we used to turn them into emeralds, but then we got too many emeralds. And we have a lot of villagers we could sell it to, but, I mean, we end up having just so many items. What are we gonna do? Sell all of them? No. No, we won't. We'll pick them up and put them in a chest, like we're supposed to, and then eventually turn those chests of leather into bookshelves. And then we'll put our sword here. But anyway, now it is just a field of 1,500 cows, and I think it is much more reasonable. Look, you can sort of see some grass a little bit sometimes if you squint. So that's different. But anyway, I think that's all I've got for you today. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Wheat. I know it was a little all over the place and technically involved a bunch of stories that were not wheat related, but you know, it'll be all right. We are getting ever closer in the temple, putting the various flowers on the side of the mountain and so on. But that's all I've got for you today. Later, Chucky. Later, Angelo. Later, Ashes. You guys have a nice night. Good night, everyone. If you're watching for the future, I hope the weather is nice there, and perhaps we will see you some other time. Good night, everyone.